Alright, listen. I don't think people understand just how wild this is getting. Anthony Joshua's new training footage just dropped, and I swear it looks like he's training for a demolition job, not a boxing match. This isn't the chilled, smiling AJ we've seen before. This is a cold, locked-in, borderline scary version of him, and Jake Paul has finally reacted to it. And let me tell you right now, the reaction says everything. If you've been thinking Jake Paul didn't grasp the size of this mountain he is climbing, this footage might have just slapped reality right into his face. Stay locked in, because once you see the clips we're about to break down and Jake's real-time response, you're going to understand why this fight just became 10 times more serious. This is the most intense Anthony Joshua has looked since the Ruiz comeback camp. And Jake Paul? He did not expect AJ to look like this. Let's break it all down. So, first things first, the footage. This new AJ video went everywhere instantly. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. And even the hardcore boxing fans, who haven't given AJ credit in years, were like, hold on, something's different here. You've got Joshua moving sharper than we've seen since 2017. The head movement, the footwork, the little slips and counters that he usually doesn't show on camera. His hands look lighter, faster. The timing looks tighter. But the biggest change? The attitude. This isn't AJ trying to look scary for the camera. This is AJ looking like he's not trying at all, because he already knows what time it is. Everything about the footage screams, no distractions, no ego, no jokes. I'm here for business. And when you combine that with the fact that this man is preparing for a guy way smaller and has the whole world ready to see if he can destroy a YouTuber, the pressure on this camp is insane. But here's where it gets crazier. Because AJ is not training like a man who thinks Jake Paul is a warm-up. He's training like a man who knows the world is watching every move he makes, and he refuses to give anybody a reason to doubt him. And that's why Jake Paul's reaction caught so many people off guard. But before we get to that, now here's the twist that makes this footage even scarier. Anthony Joshua is officially training with Oleksandr Usyk's team. Yes, the same Usyk who beat him twice. The same Usyk whose entire boxing style is based on movement, IQ, rhythm, angles, and footwork. And AJ is now learning from that system. This is the kind of move fighters almost never make. Usually when someone beats you twice, you avoid everything connected to them. But not AJ. He literally said, I want to go where the best knowledge exists. And here's what that means. He's not just training hard, he's training smart. You can literally see the Usyk influence in the new clips. Shorter steps, better balance, faster resets, less tension in his punches, a smoother, looser rhythm. That's exactly what Usyk destroys people with. And here's where it ties into Jake Paul. Because while AJ is studying with the most technical heavyweight on the planet, Jake Paul is training with Tyson Fury, which, by the way, makes the fight even bigger. Because now we've got Joshua inspired by Usyk, and Jake Paul inspired by Fury. And the entire world is watching like we're seeing the heavyweight division split into two camps for the wildest crossover fight ever. This actually builds hype not just for AJ versus Jake Paul, but for the potential Fury versus AJ next year. So while Jake might have thought this was just a big money fight, AJ is approaching it like a legacy moment. And that's where the pressure starts to flip. One by one, fighters started reacting to the footage, and the vibe was the same everywhere. Whoa, AJ looks sharp. Joe Joyce said he looked dangerous. Tony Bellew said he's laser focused. Spencer Oliver said the sharpness is back. Eddie Hearn said he hasn't seen AJ this switched on in years. Even retired fighters who usually roll their eyes at AJ gave him props. This is not the stiff, unsure AJ people complained about after the Usyk fights. This is a guy who looks like he's rediscovered the reason he started boxing in the first place. And when a fighter feels like he has something to prove, that's when they're the most dangerous. And every single one of these reactions just added more weight to Jake Paul's situation. Because the closer we get to December 19th, the more people are realizing AJ is taking this way more seriously than expected. And Jake? Well, this is where things get interesting. Alright, here's the moment that made headlines. Jake Paul was on Instagram Live when somebody sent him AJ's new training clip. And instantly, Jake paused. And the pause alone told you everything. He didn't laugh it off. He didn't troll. He didn't brush it away. He actually looked stunned. And then Jake goes, "Damn, AJ looks sharp." Now Jake tried to play it cool afterward, throwing in some confidence and some typical Jake Paul energy. But that split-second reaction before he spoke, that was real. Because for the first time, you could see it in his face. He saw the level he's about to step into. Remember, this isn't Tyron Woodley. This isn't Nate Robinson. This isn't a retired Anderson Silva. This is a 6'6" Olympic gold medalist with knockout power. Jake's reaction didn't look like fear, but it looked like respect. And when a fighter respects you, that's when they get serious. And now the world is watching to see if Jake can back up everything he's been saying. So here's what Jake saw and why it matters. AJ's punches look different now. They're faster, cleaner, less forced. And when Joshua stops loading up and starts snapping shots, that's when he's the most dangerous version of himself. Because Jake Paul has never experienced heavyweight timing. Not size, not power. Timing. He's never stood opposite someone who can punch while stepping backwards with the kind of precision AJ showed in that clip. Plus, AJ's conditioning looks better. His snapping combinations look like they're coming from a man ready to go 12 rounds, not someone banking on early knockouts. So yeah, Jake had every reason to be shocked. Because this isn't AJ messing around. This is AJ preparing like Jake is a real threat, and a fighter who trains like his opponent is dangerous becomes dangerous himself. Here's the storyline nobody saw coming. Joshua is learning from Usyk. Paul is learning from Fury. That alone is insane. These are the two smartest heavyweights alive, with opposite styles, philosophies, body types, and footwork patterns. Usyk is all about finesse, angles, precision. Fury is deception, awkward rhythm, unorthodox movement, mental chaos. And now their influences are about to clash, through their students. The idea that Jake Paul is training with the man who dethroned Vladimir Klitschko, the undefeated heavyweight giant who outboxed Wilder, White, and Chisora, is insane. And the idea that AJ is sharpening his toolkit with the man who outthought him twice is just as wild. Even the heavyweight division is reacting like this is some kind of multiverse crossover. No matter where you stand, you can't deny this fight is getting bigger every single day. This is where fans are split. Some people say Jake has a great chin. Others say he hasn't fought anyone big enough to test it. But here's the truth. Jake has never taken a punch from someone 240 pounds with elite mechanics, elite accuracy, and elite power. He's sparred heavyweights, yes, but sparring is not fighting. And AJ isn't hitting pads for fun. He's hitting them like he's trying to send shockwaves through the building. Jake Paul has never experienced that level of force. This is why Jake's reaction to the footage matters so much. Because he knows what he saw is not YouTube-level boxing. It's not influencer energy. It's not sparring clips. This is a former unified heavyweight champion preparing to show the world he's still elite. Let's talk about AJ for a second. Why is he training this hard? Simple. He cannot lose to Jake Paul. He knows it. Eddie Hearn knows it. The entire boxing world knows it. If AJ destroys Jake Paul, he gets momentum again. He gets confidence. He gets a monster payday. And he gets set up for the Tyson Fury fight in early 2026, the one the fans still want. But if Jake Paul even looks competitive, even wins a round or two, AJ's critics will destroy him. That's why this camp is so intense. That's why he's training with Usyk's team. That's why the new footage looks like a man possessed. Because for AJ, this isn't Jake Paul. This is redemption. Now let's be fair. Jake Paul does have a path to victory. It's small, but it exists. He needs to survive the early rounds when AJ is the most dangerous. If Jake can extend the fight, frustrate AJ, make him miss, and force the pace to slow down, things get interesting. Jake's best weapon isn't his power. It's his ability to stay composed under pressure. He doesn't panic. He keeps throwing. And if he catches AJ with something clean while AJ is rushing in, chaos can happen. But all of that depends on one thing. Can Jake even make it into the mid-rounds? That's the million-dollar question. Now before we wrap this up, we need to talk about the sparring rumors, because these started flying around right after AJ's new footage dropped, and they added a whole new twist to the storyline. Word around several gyms is that AJ has been absolutely lighting up sparring partners. We're talking stories of him dropping heavyweights with body shots, snapping heads back with uppercuts, and doing it all while barely breaking a sweat. One coach even said AJ looks angry technical, which is a terrifying combination. And you know how boxing fans are. Once rumors start, they catch fire. People started comparing this camp to AJ's Ruiz 2.0 camp, the one where he transformed his style, slimmed down, sharpened up, and boxed perfectly for 12 rounds. Except this time, he's not slimming down. He's not trying to move for 12 rounds. He's trying to hurt someone. Now let's zoom out for a minute. Why is everyone, hardcore fans, casual fans, UFC fighters, influencers, retired legends, all glued to this matchup? Because this fight doesn't make sense, but it makes perfect sense at the same time. You've got Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist, two-time heavyweight champion, global superstar, a guy who once carried the entire British boxing scene on his back. And then you've got Jake Paul, a YouTuber who walked into a sport he wasn't supposed to survive in, knocked people out, built a fan base, made millions, and now somehow convinced the world he belongs in the same ring as Anthony Joshua. This is a clash of two different eras, two different cultures, two different universes colliding under one roof. It's traditional boxing versus new age entertainment, legacy versus algorithm, experience versus delusion, seriousness versus chaos. And the crazy thing? It works. Because no matter what side you're on, whether you think AJ is going to send Jake Paul into orbit, or you think Jake Paul is about to pull off the biggest upset since Buster Douglas, you're watching. So now I want to know from you. Does Jake Paul have any chance? Or is AJ about to create the most viral knockout in boxing history? Drop your predictions in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns. And trust me, we have so much more coming. Stay locked in.